Hey everyone, it's John here from Untitled Hockey to talk about Tomas Tatar and if he's going to get traded, which teams he could be traded to, and what they could possibly get in return for the Montreal Canadiens. So I think for Marc Bergevin, you're looking at this team. This team has been falling. They're not close to a playoff spot right now. And you know what? A lot can change, but if you're looking at Tomas Tatar, this is not a rental. Yes, I think they would be trading guys like an Ilya Kovalchuk, or a guy on the back end like a Marco Scandella who you just acquired, maybe you flip him. So rentals. But Tomas Tatar, who is not a rental, maybe you want to trade him and, sell high on a guy that's played very well for your team in the last 2 years. So Tomas Tatar, with the Red Wings, he got traded to the Golden Knights for a first, a second, and third round pick. So an extreme price for a guy that was inconsistent with the Red Wings. And the Golden Knights paid quite a bit. And then the Golden Knights included him in what was a huge haul for the Montreal Canadiens, trading Max Pacioretty to the Golden Knights in exchange for Tatar, Nick Suzuki, and a second-round pick. And people have to understand kind of the context. Tatar was being scratched in the playoffs for the Golden Knights. He was kind of in and out of the lineup for that playoff run, and he didn't really fit that scenario very well. And in the trade, he was kind of considered a throw-in. Not like a full-on cap dump throw-in, but he was more of a throw-in. The kind of meat of that trade was Nick Suzuki and then, of course, a second-round pick. Tatar didn't end up being a throw-in, and that haul ended up being huge. Marc Bergevin looked like a genius for that trade, and what a haul it was for Max Pacioretty. Now, if they were to flip Tomas Tatar for another set of assets or another decent return, then that Max Pacioretty overall return for the future could look insane. So I'm going to talk about who they could get for Tomas Tatar and where he could end up if they were to trade him. So, of course, if you are here, please subscribe to the channel, hit a thumbs up, comment your thoughts below, and if you want to see more content, be in live streams, hit that notification bell so you are here on time. I think I'm going to start with a team that's been rumored to be getting another guy in their top six, which is the Colorado Avalanche. I think the Avalanche were one of those teams that were kind of highly considered to get a guy like Taylor Hall, and they really didn't put up an offer. They didn't want to give up their top prospects or their big pieces. You know what? I think you can compare somewhat of what Max Pacioretty's return was in a smaller scale, so maybe a second and first round pick plus a prospect for Tomas Tatar. Again, it depends on the value. Montreal Canadiens fans, they want that first round pick and an A-level prospect, where the other side is probably not going to want to give up a first round pick and maybe a second round pick and maybe a B-level prospect, you're a younger player. I think for Tomas Tatar, the fact that he has term and he's not just a rental for this year, I think it has to be a first-round pick unless it's going to be a significant prospect like a Nick Suzuki. So if you're talking about the Avalanche, maybe it's a first-round pick and Tyson Jost. Or if it's the Calgary Flames, maybe it's like a third or second round pick and a younger roster player like Sam Bennett. So if you kind of see where I'm going with this, Sam Bennett, who's been inconsistent with the Flames, you add a decent draft pick with that and get a guy like Tomas Tatar. And Canadiens fans, you have to understand, when you acquired Tomas Tatar, I know a lot of you did not expect you were going to get the player that you're getting today. And Tomas Tatar has been ridiculous for the Montreal Canadiens. He's been great. And for a guy like Sam Bennett, maybe that's all he needs. Maybe that's just a change of scenery. So Sam Bennett and maybe the second round pick, I'm just throwing things out there. But if I'm looking at the Avalanche, maybe it's a younger player like Jost in that high draft pick. Maybe Sam Bennett and a higher draft pick if you're the Flames. The Blue Jackets. Montreal Canadiens fans have really liked a guy like Josh Anderson. So I'm not sure if it's a Josh Anderson or if you're looking at a defenseman or if you're looking at a prospect. But I think the Blue Jackets could like a guy like Tomas Tatar. And I'm looking at the Blue Jackets in what they're looking for, and I think they've learned their lesson from last year, losing Duchesne after acquiring him, losing Dzingel after acquiring him, and then obviously Bobrovsky and Panarin losing them as well. You're going to acquire, if you are going to acquire and be a buyer, guys with term and not rentals. So Tomas Tatar fits that bill, and maybe that's a fit for the Blue Jackets to enter into that top six. The Edmonton Oilers. So this is a tough one because if you're looking at the Edmonton Oilers, they don't really want to give up on guys like Sam Rukov or Broberg or Bouchard. So if you're not going to give up those guys, what do you have to offer for the Montreal Canadiens? And do they really want to give up their first-round pick? There has been some rumors around it. So if it is a first-round pick and maybe a B-level prospect, maybe the Montreal Canadiens consider that. Again, there is no rush to trade Tomas Tatar, but his value is high right now. So if it gets you that first-round pick plus another piece, I think you've got to highly consider that if you're Marc Bergevin. And then the New York Islanders. So the Islanders, this one's interesting. Do you want to take a chance on guys that are highly skilled but haven't necessarily panned out yet. And that would be maybe a Michael Dal Cole or a Josh Ho-Sang. So Ho-Sang, I feel like, has more of that raw skill set. Dal Cole, I mean, he was a top 5 or whatever, 5-6, whatever it was. He was up there in the first round. And I think he still has some potential, but even with time in the second line or third line for the Islanders, he still hasn't put up those numbers. And Ho-Sang, obviously, in the AHL. Could that be part of the return? If you're the Montreal Canadiens, are you just looking at that first round pick, or maybe are you looking at a prospect like Kier Bellows? So I don't know what the Montreal Canadiens are looking at. Again, it's just kind of different pieces throughout different teams, but I do think the Avalanche could be a fit. I think the Calgary Flames could be a fit. I think the Blue Jackets, Oilers, Islanders, and then just a couple other teams, maybe the Pittsburgh Penguins, the St. Louis Blues, or the Vancouver Canucks. So if I'm looking at the Penguins, they're looking for another guy in their top 6. They don't have Jake Gensel into the playoffs, and I think with Rutherford, we've talked about, is he going to want a rental? He really does like having guys with term in the future, but then maybe if you want a guy with term, then it's maybe sending a guy back with cap. Hornquist has found time in the third or fourth line, so I don't know if the Montreal Canadiens want to take a chance on that. And I was kind of looking at the Vancouver Canucks. So this is the thing. So if we're talking about cap, if we're talking about sending guys that have maybe struggled recently, and it's kind of comparable to the Max Pacioretty trade. Tomas Tatar was considered a throw-in, but look how he panned out. Sometimes it's just giving the guys an opportunity and getting those guys that are not getting those ice time, the ice time. And if you're looking at a guy like Michael Furland or Sven Barchi with the Vancouver Canucks, Furland has had so many injury issues, concussion issues. Some people might even think he maybe retires a lot sooner. So if I'm throwing out a name like Sven Barchi, though, $2.5 million cap hit. He's been in the AHL, but he's been a good top 9 forward in the past. Maybe the Montreal Canadiens, if they were going to trade with the Vancouver Canucks, maybe it's a first round pick and somewhat of a younger player or a prospect, and Sven Barchi to Tomas Tatar. Like, what do you think if you're the Montreal Canadiens? I don't think that's too bad. Sven Barchi could end up being a good addition in a different scenario, and a first round pick plus a prospect that could pan out. Honestly, I think that could be pretty good. And if I'm looking at the St. Louis Blues, I think the Montreal Canadiens would target a guy like Klim Kostin. I think there's other guys. I don't think the St. Louis Blues are going to give up Jordan Kyrou. I think Zach Sanford maybe, but again, he's played good in a top 9 role. And then there's other guys like Sammy Blais, who's been inconsistent. There's also been injury issues there. But I would love, if I'm looking at the St. Louis Blues, I would love a scenario where Tomas Tatar is playing on a line with Ryan O'Reilly or David Perron. So I'm looking at that, and that could be exciting. And then bringing Tarasenko back in the fold when he's back from injury. And then a hot take could be the Boston Bruins. I'm thinking the Montreal Canadiens are not going to make a trade like that, more because it's in the same division. We've seen it before, and we've seen it in the past. I would say more and more in today's NHL. But I'm looking more at the fit and the need for the Boston Bruins, and they do need that guy in the top 6. And even with term and at a pretty good cap hit for what he's producing at, Tomas Tatar could be a fit for the Boston Bruins. So let me know. I threw out a whole bunch of scenarios for you guys and threw out a whole bunch of different teams. So let me know what you think. Subscribe if you are new. Smash that like button. Comment your thoughts. This was John from Untitled Hockey. Hope you have a good one. Peace out.